Hello, class, and welcome to Design Fundamentals. I am Mr. Bofill. I'm going to be your instructor for this class, and let me tell you, this is one of those classes that I really do enjoy teaching because, for the most part, not much has to do with any kind of subjectivity. This is a class that really deals with the mechanics of design. And design is not something that is just based solely on talent, but is based on, let's just say, they are rules for successful design. And design is found in everything, whether it's art or fashion design, photography, animation, making a film. It's everywhere. Even for designing a recipe book and how you're going to design it and what kind of recipes and who is the target audience. All that stuff requires some, principles of design that are tried and true. So let's get started with this basic PowerPoint that I have here. Now, I'm not going to go through every slide, everyone. I'm just going to go through a few slides, but it is up to you to go through all the slides and read the material. So let's begin. So, design. How do we define design? Design is to plan, to organize. In fact, even looking at this poster right here, where you see it's time to get organized, I mean, just even looking at it, you can see that it's communicating a message. And it's pretty effective. And what I mean by effective is how efficient the communication of the idea is. And that's what you want to strive for, I believe, in all your disciplines or any of the disciplines, is to be efficient, to get to the point. Right? So, design is essentially the opposite of chance. It totally is the opposite of chance. I know a lot of times in the arts, people like to think of, of like happy accidents. Another way of saying happy accidents is serendipity. And let me tell you something. Yes, you can have a happy accident. But one of the first things a designer does after a happy accident is to study that accident and try to replicate it so that it's not an accident and then it becomes intentional. Okay? Picasso once said, I don't know what quote it is or what book it comes from, but Picasso said, if you like an area, Picasso is as everybody probably knows, a famous artist. If you like an area in the painting, the best thing a young artist can do is cross it out and do it again in another area, and cross it out and do it again. And to the point where the good area, the thing that you like, you have full control over it. Because that is what a designer does. A designer makes work, communicates intentfully. You are choreographing your target audience. So that's what this slide is about. It is not happy accidents. It is the exact opposite. It is very intentful. Art seeks visual solutions. Well, the design process involves seeking visual solutions to a problem. For instance, in this class, you are going to get some assignments. We're going to go through some elements, line, color, shape, texture, and we're going to go through some principles such as balance and emphasis. And every time I give you an assignment, that is a problem. I'm giving you a controlled problem that you must solve. Out in the real world, the problems are different. They're based on the job that you have. In fact, even let's think about fashion design. You have Halston, who would design, these dresses. I mean, he became famous for these dresses that were done just out of a whole cloth that he would cut and wrap around a female body. And that was a problem that he came up with a solution. And it was very clean, efficient, and in fact, maybe he outdid himself. And, that usually does happen. But anyways, so yes, art seeks to solve problems. And when I say art, I mean it in a very loose way in terms of all the disciplines that incorporate design. Creative problem solving. Okay, so there are no rules. You know, a lot of times people say, oh, there's no rules to art, so how can you tell if anything is good or not good? Aha, there are rules. You can tell when something is good or not good. It's just a lot of times we confuse making judgments with our personal taste. But when you think about judging art or design objectively, you have to think about what we're going to see in the next slide, which is content and form. What and how. What you want to say and how you say it. So if a pizza parlor is opening up, do you want to advertise it on a billboard, on an expressway? Do you want to advertise it on Instagram? Do you want to actually have small cards that you print out and have someone pass it out to windows at a car street, at an intersection? These are all hows, and we already know what the what is. So as a graphic designer, consulting a client, there is a rule. The rule is which one is successful. That's the rule. The rule is communicating content and form, getting the message out. And the best way and the most efficient way and the most appealing way to get it out. That's the rule. So that's kind of where it gets to, where, there are rules. But are there rules about what you might like or not like? No, that's personal. So that's where there are no rules. You can like whatever you'd like or not like, but everything that you like is not going to reach a consensus that everyone will say, yes, let's put this in the museum. And everything that's in the museum that everyone has made a consensus is a fine work of art may not be your cup of tea. So we have to start learning what is objective judgment based on the rules of design and what is subjective based on your personal experience. Okay, let's move on. So let's see. All right, let's go to the next slide. These are things, like I said, we're going to go through some of these slides, and some of them I'm going to leave them up to you, right? So here we go. Discussion of art to, discussions of art distinguishing between two aspects, right? So when we talk about art or design, what is successful, not successful, is based on that, content and form. You're going to hear me say that a lot, and it's just like, it is it's that simple, but yet that complex. So if you are sitting with a client, even if you are a caterer, and you're sitting with a client to talk about how they want to cater their wedding, it's the same thing, okay? You need to get clarity of the content, of the what. What is the message? Later you can talk about the how. The problem is a lot of times clients want to talk about the how right away. I want lights, I want flowers, I want a chocolate fountain. And then at the end of the day, it's up to the caterer to say to the client, yes, but what is the theme? Is it Bali, tropicalness? Is it Scandinavian? Because all those lights and plants and chocolate fountains, it may not fit the overriding theme, which is the content. So all those other things about the chocolate fountain or the flowers or the lights and the music of the deep, that's all form. All of that is form. Aesthetics, this is pretty much about aspects about form, okay? And a picture's worth 1,000 words. Yes, pictures are a great way to communicate without words in a different language. Yes, that language is not, I know you're going to see in the slides here a lot of words like visual, but it's not really visual. It's us as human beings. It's up here. It's things that that come natural to us, instincts, And it's things that are, kind of preconditioned, you know. So it's just that when they say visual, it's just that a lot of the information, most of the information that we get bombarded with in society is visual. Not a lot of audio bombardment, not a lot of touch bombardment. It's mostly visual. But after it goes in our eyes, it's all up here. So keep that in mind. It's all up here. Art as a communication, yes. We use symbols. This says stop the torture. And very immediately, I mean, we're looking at a thumb with a blade going through it. And it does not look like an accident. It looks like on purpose. And we get the idea that it is a a torture technique. So sometimes the visuals, the symbols, the images are so impactful that you don't really need to clutter it with that many words. The creative process. Now, I'm a fan of this and understanding this. There's thinking, looking, and doing. And you don't have to do it in that order. I myself, in my practice, in my studio, a lot of times I do a lot of looking, and then I start doing. I start, playing with materials, thinking about what the materials are, the texture, doing some more looking, and then when I see that I have something that really appeals to me, then I start the thinking. I start thinking like, how is this relevant? How does this communicate? How is this related to me? How is it going to relate to my target audience? So the thinking for me usually comes later. But that's the fine arts. That's very different. In the applied arts, such as, again, graphic design, which is a very applied art, you don't really start off with doing. You start off with the brief, the thinking, the talking to the client. Then you go and you start looking. Looking is also known as research. Researching the problem that you want to solve. So if you are, let's say, you're an editor, and a person comes to you and they say, I want to write a book. And you're like, okay, what? Which is the content? What do you want to write? Oh, I want to write a book about, my grandmother's recipes. So then that editor will start looking, which is also known as researching, other cookbooks that are of family tradition to start getting an idea of the format of what's out there or what has been tried and has not been successful, to then recommunicate with the client before doing. So in some practices for design, the doing is last, because you kind of, it's kind of like saying getting your ducks in a row. You got to get the thinking and the looking done first. So the thinking, what is to be achieved, what are the physical limitations, and things like that. This is the thinking part. And then, of course, again, I'm going to go through these slides very quickly so that you can go through it. But, this is what thinking is. It's the research. It's understanding what the problem is to begin with. Form and content, thinking in terms of, if I have to come up with a logo, I have to do some thinking. What is most effective? For instance, like here we have the Greyhound, and a leaner Greyhound dog is it's much more effective about a bus getting to your destination quicker than, the airplane or the train, than a thicker, heavier dog. Again, we're going to go through some of this. Form follows function. That is the thinking part. Yeah, everyone can design a teapot out of ceramics, but, there is a function to the teapot. If I can't successfully pour hot water from tea that's been brewing in a teapot into a teacup, then it's not, the form is not following the function. The function is to heat up water with tea bags inside and then slowly be poured out. That is the function. Now, of course, you want to make a teapot that is appealing, that is eye-catching, but it has a function. Same thing with a car. You have car designers. They call that industrial designing. Uh, you know, or you want to design tabletop ware. It has to function. It can't be so, how would you say it? So bizarre that you can't really eat off the the tabletop ware. It looks great, but it's not functional, right? So form follows function. Hair blowers, you know, I've looked at a few hair blowers for my daughter, and it's amazing. Some of them look like very fast Lamborghinis. The way they are designed, it's like they're aerodynamic, even though it's just a hair blower. So at the end of the day, that hair blower, even though it looks fast like a Lamborghini or Ferrari, it still needs to function and function well. All right. So again, I'm going through some of these. The looking part. What can we look at? You'd be surprised. A lot of times when you have designers say that, oh, I have like a artist block. That kind of means you need to do some more looking in your life. And looking doesn't always necessarily mean actually looking. Like I said, looking can be research. It could be traveling. It could be doing experiences. I mean, if you are, again, if you are an editor or designing a cookbook for someone, and they are designing a cookbook of, I don't know, let's just say Caribbean foods, traditional Caribbean foods, yeah, I think you should go and eat a few dishes. You should eat some Caribbean food. You should try what curry, Jamaican curry chicken is like, or black beans and rice, or mofongo from Puerto Rico. Like, you should try the dishes of the Caribbean. This helps you. This is the looking part, the research part. Okay. Let's see. Like I said, we're skipping through some of these slides. It's up, you know, the slides are there for you guys to look through and also to help you out with the quizzes. And then, you know, lastly, we have doing, thinking with material. Here we have the artist Eva Hess and Sarah Winstock. Now, I can speak about Eva Hess. Eva Hess, she started working a lot with the properties of rubber, for instance. And a lot of times, she struggled with trying to allow the material that she was using to have a voice. So this is what I mean by with the fine arts. It's very different. And sometimes starting with the doing is appropriate. Some of the fields, some of the other fields of design, you don't want to really start that way. It may not be appropriate to start that way, right? So, you know, think about that. And, you know, materials, yes, materials are lifeless, but it's up to you to find out what is the voice in those materials. Materials can also break, you know, they can break or make your design. A lot of times you might have the thinking and the doing down packed, you're ready to go, but you chose the wrong form, which would be the materials. Remember, form, how you deliver the message. Content, what is the message? So if you put too much writing, too much information on a billboard where cars are driving 75 to 90 miles an hour, nobody's going to read all that small text. They're driving way too fast. Your billboard needs to have less words, just a few, and be very impactful. And to really deliver maybe one word or 2 words, you know? So you have to think of it that way. Okay, so I think at this point, I'm not really going to go through much more of the PowerPoint. You know, I'm going to leave that to you guys, because if not, then the video's, you know, the video's too long and it's kind of hard to watch a whole video. But I will be posting more videos as we move along, and again, I welcome any feedback as well. So you can email me any feedback or any other questions that you might have. So again, welcome to the design class, And we're going to learn a lot. Have some fun. Okay? Bueno, bye.